So this question is for both of you, and take whichever order you want. But my understanding of this, for those remaining projects that require security, the deal is that now they're going to have APPF forces there, who I don't know that we have a great deal of confidence in their abilities on that. There's always been trouble with the training of the security forces of Afghanistan. So they're going to come in, and then for those that are still having trouble deciding how they're going to operate in this system, we're going to be able to have management risk companies who are essentially going to be the same people that used to be contracting for the job to now layer on and oversee them. And then we're going to pay them on a cost-plus basis and add on a 20% profit. So if I watch this calculation all the way out, as the ISAF forces and NATO and the United States and others contribute money to Afghanistan, Afghanistan uses all of that money to try to build a security force. They then take the funded security force and assign it to these projects, which are paid for by the United States and other countries' money for the development of that, charge them for the security by the people that were paid for by these people on a per-person basis on that cost-plus, and then manage them with people that used to be there without further management or whatever, one less layer, and pay for them, and then add a 20% profit to it. Is that about right, Mr. Trent?
Congressman, we have paid a large amount of money through MOI to buy weapons and various equipment. Your characterization, I think, has certainly a consideration. I think that's not. I can't say it's an unfair way to look at it, and I'd be interested in AID's response to that.
Well, so would I, Mr. Tierney.
Thank you. So let me just clarify one thing about, I think, the way this is functioning. The guards who were working for the private security contractors on March 19th change their uniforms and go to work for the APPF. So this is not a—
Without any further training.
Not a separate guard force. And in most cases, I think in all cases thus far, the same guards who they were paying for their private security contractors have now become APPF guards. So literally a change of uniform on that day. So the same people who they relied on and paid and trained to fulfill that role are the same people who are guarding them March 21st but wearing the APPF uniform. At the same time, a number of private security contractors and perhaps other companies have signed up to become risk management consultants.
These are the same people that used to have what now are the APPF people. When they had the old uniforms, these are the people that managed them.
Exactly. The old model was essentially some expatriate managers with Afghan guards, and that's now been split into two things. The Afghan guards now work for the APPF, and the expatriates, if they're hired, are worked for these risk management companies, advising the firm on security. So what was previously one contract has now become two different contracts, one for the Afghan guards, one for the expatriate guards. And that's voluntary. The implementing partners don't have to sign up with the APPF, but if they want those services, they do. They don't have to sign up with the risk management company, but if they want those services, they do. I think so that's the basic model of how this is meant to function. It's true that the international community has supported the standing up of the Guard force to make this transition. It is our goal with the APPF, as with many of the other Afghan entities, to wean them off of
But
U.S.
let me just focus us
assistance.
back on this. So far, we've taken one entity for security, made it into two. It's already funded by the United States and others on that basis. So you've just now broken it into two, and you're now paying them on a cost-per-person basis. You break it down for the gun, for the uniform, whatever expenses are in there, right?
I'm not sure. I would have to look at the contract to see how it's actually worded in terms of the cost, but so I'm sorry, I don't have that level of specificity.
But there is going to be a 20% profit margin allowed on those contracts, right?
My understanding of the 20% is that it's not a profit in the sense, this is a state-owned enterprise, it's not a profit in the sense that this is something that is going to be used as profit to be distributed to individuals.
You say that. Given the history of corruption and ineptitude in this country, you think that adding additional layers and opportunities another 20%, not an opportunity for further graft and corruption and driving a wedge between people in that country and their government?
I mean, what is critical in this regard is that This entity, like all of the other Afghan entities that we're supporting, needs to have very rigorous accounting and oversight mechanisms to ensure that that doesn't happen.
Well, which brings me to the next problem, is that you fairly well admit that you don't have great vision into any of these contracts, particularly when it comes to security. So is that going to change? Are you telling us that now you're going to start looking at these security contracts and tracking the money?
Our people review every contract. I'm just saying that I specifically don't know the mechanism that you're asking about whether it's costed out by the individual or in a different way. But certainly our contracting officers are required to review these contracts and have approved every single one.
I want to come back and revisit this, but I know my time is up. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to follow up on the line of questioning here. It's my understanding the USAID issued a blanket waiver for sole source subcontracts between U.S. companies and the APPF. How does that further your ability to look into the money that's going out? I would also say that the SIGUR has issued a table here. I don't know if you had a chance to look at Table 1, which basically outlines things, for instance, such as martyr contribution, pension payment. They even have a line item of profit, 20% of above total. So if you could look at that, that's on page 4 of what they issued to you. Where do you take exception with what they put out there?
Sorry, maybe somebody can hand me the...
Yeah, I'll give you a moment to highlight that. Let me allow Mr. Trent to explain this Table 1, because if you're summarily dismissing their report in its entirety, they're pretty detailed and specific about, you know, food stipend and training and martyr contribution, hazard pay, you know, to be determined by the customer, what the AK-47 rifle costs. Where would USAID find fault in this table?